80% of jobs that are even going out to market have already been filled. They just do it just to fulfill all righteousness.
Yeah.
Just to fulfill all processes. Like, that's how decisions are made. When I was at Cambridge, I also realized the power of being liked. Money actually doesn't give you access to everything, you know. No. People will only tolerate you to the height of their ability to, like, oh, fine. Yeah. But after that, no. When decisions are being made to favour you, likability counts for a lot.
Bro, this weather is doing a madness. Yesterday, I was wearing shorts and t-shirt, no socks. You know when I've decided to wear no socks? You know that people don't know that's where the cold enters your body.
It's the feet.
Through the head and the feet.
It is the feet.
You know what I'm trying to say? I was wearing no today. I'm wearing the fleece. Yeah. It's crazy, bro. How can we plan?
We can't. They said everybody should be working until July, August. That's what they've said.
Why?
They said don't get outside because I personally feel like, and obviously it's not like Dubai where they do all of that climate shifting or whatever, but I feel like they're trying to do something for us for the election. I like a conspiracy, you know. I'm prone to a conspiracy.
No, you're bare prone because if you're saying that they're
doing something to keep us inside so that we don't go out and protest. But I'm not going to protest anyway. I'm black, so that's not really my bag. But it's the government, okay? Mark my words. You heard it here first.
That one is deep.
Iman, you like the winter, innit?
Kind of. I kind of like it.
Like as in choose it over summer, or like as in can manage?
No, because you see me, the way I sweat, it's different. Like, I am a man that can sweat, like sitting down, doing nothing and just sweating. So when the heat is too much.
Yeah. And the UK ain't got facilities like aircon and stuff like that.
You ain't got aircon.
Dubai,
yeah, exactly.
Dubai.
When you're out on, like, so when you go to, like, even when I go Niger, it's calm. Do you know what I mean? Aircon everywhere. But this place, nothing.
Yeah.
Open window, it's just, fan is just blowing the hot air around. It's not making sense. So.
And our houses aren't built for hot weather. The heat will always just travel up.
Sometimes I ask, what are the houses actually even built for? What do they do well?
They've rushed everything and then it's overpriced.
Bro, it's crazy. What's your lot's week been like though? Everybody's busy. We'll talk about working weekends, right?
Yeah, work's been busy. It's end of the financial year. Yeah, work's been crazy busy for me. And one of the things I'm trying to do in this current season of my life is pace myself. And pacing yourself is a lot harder than people think. They just think it's like, I'm going to work 9 to 5. But actually pacing is like knowing the season that you're in and knowing that actually it's going to require you to give a little bit more to get certain things over the line. So I'm looking at my context in a much broader sense that, okay, I've got quite a lot to deliver. I'm probably not going to get it done 9 to 5. So how can I pace myself bit by bit to get it all done? Yeah,
I love that.
And you teed it up nicely because the other day, Iman was on to me because I took like 20 minutes to introduce her and so on. So we normally do about 10 minutes just so Iman's happy. You know, you have to keep Uncle Iman happy. He gets in it. So let me keep Uncle Iman happy so I don't get caught up in our convo.
Iman's like, at the top.
And forget. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So everybody, I want you to give a warm welcome to our special guest, Tolu, Head of Inclusion and Diversity.
Global head, if you're going to say it right.
Thank you. It's so true. Global head
say it
of
right,
Inclusion and Diversity
I'm joking,
at Diageo. Iman, you're looking at me. What's going on?
No. I was saying that, you know, we kind of broke a rule for you.
Oh.
Because you're kind of corporate.
Oh.
And we was like, when we do our podcast, we don't want anyone corporate. But because you're kind of fun at the same time.
Thank you.
And your position, like, is so, like, special. I mean, obviously, I've been connected to you for time, so
yeah.
I remember Sainsbury's. So for you to now
be, that's 5 years ago.
I remember Sainsbury's. So for you to be here now, I'm just like, I'm so proud of you, like, and the journey, and I feel like our listeners need to hear it because sometimes it's that big Nelson Mandela. No, it always seems impossible till it's done.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's like actually you've shown that it's possible, and the best thing about you haven't lost yourself. Like, I'll be honest, like a lot of the time when we see our people in these positions, they sound like they're not our people. They sound like they've never been around us no more. Like they're all at polo games. And, you know what I mean?
I always say not everyone's ready to be black at work.
No,
they're not ready to be black at work.
Facts. But your content, everything you do, and your faith, everything is just the same. Like it stay consistent. Like so, I love that. And I was like, when Tayo said you can make it, I was so happy. I was like,
thanks guys. Thanks so much for having me.
I've even come 1 hour early to the thing just to make sure.
Wow.
I didn't fall asleep because I said if I touch this house, I'm not making it.
Sometimes you have to plan when you're going to touch home. And if you do go home, you got to say, I can't go upstairs.
Exactly. Know that.
But absolutely, I think that we bent a rule because I think that where we're
Grateful,
talking,
guys, I'm grateful.
we didn't break it because I think that there's a huge amount of influence
Of course.
in what you do as well.
Of course.
And that's kind of what we want to get. So people that can have that kind of like impact on our listeners, basically.
Yeah.
But Iman spoke about your past. Let's take it back to. No, we
way
got a new thing.
back,
Actually, we got a
go
new thing.
way
New
back.
thing. This is what we say to people. Yeah, tell us in your words, what is your bread and butter?
My bread and butter is actually people. My bread and butter is people. So whether or not that's in a corporate context where my job revolves around people, whether or not that's outside of the corporate context, in a ministry context, my world revolves around people, whether or not it's around how I like to show up with my loved ones, minister of enjoyment, minister of laughter, CEO of fun, CEO of ease, all of that revolves around people. And so my bread and butter really is people. I get my energy from people. Respectfully, I make my money from people, and I live my life celebrated by people and being surrounded by people. So people are my bread and butter. I would say that.
Hey, you're a wordsmith, you know.
That was bars.
You're a wordsmith.
If you can find the right beat, that's it. That's a motivational speech.
And I won't do it here. I won't do it ever. But back in my my primary school, college days, I used to try a little freestyle. I used to love grime back in the
MC,
day.
yeah?
Nah, I wasn't MC. That's too big of a word. But a little bit of playground fun.
But you had a couple of tracks. You went to the studio.
Nah, no studio. I was never a studio person.
Okay.
You recorded on the phone.
But yeah, recording a fun little instruments in the
We have to
background.
dig that one up. We have to dig that one up.
No, never.
So where did it all begin for you then?
For me, I would say it began. I'll give two parts. My context is I'm a quadruplet. And so for anyone that doesn't know what that is, that's 4 children born at the same time. So think twins, think triplets, then the next level up, quadruplets.
Wow.
And
Identical?
so, no, we're not identical, although people say that to us now. So they'll see my sister, they'll be like, oh my gosh, you guys look alike. I don't think we look alike, but other people say that all the time. So I would take their word for it.
Yeah.
But we're definitely not identical.
Okay.
And so my context is so unique in that growing up, I always used to say that they're my day zeros. Forget day one, they're my day zeros. They're my womb mates. That's what I say. So growing up, I was always used to being around people. And I think a lot of who I am today comes from that context growing up with my siblings. The interest that I have in the differences that we have as people comes from my siblings, because more than anyone, you would expect all 4 of us to be the same, and we're so different. So my interest in people comes from that. My confidence comes from that, right? Like ability to banter, being a fast reflector, being a fast thinker because you're in such a busy environment. All of that comes from my siblings. So it starts on that side. And for the most part, for our whole lives, we were raised the same. As in, your parents put you in the same outfits, but the girls wore pink, the boys wore blue. You wear the same things, hair the same things, and I was raised to be the same. And then we went to the same primary school, same secondary school, same colleges. Obviously, at those stages of life, you're in the same classes.
Yeah.
Then we get to university, and this is the first time we get to make a decision. Do you want to stay together or be separate? And I think at the time, we just took it as light work. Like, yeah, whatever. My brother stayed in London. Me and my sister, we went to universities outside of London. But in that process was the first time that I got a glimpse into who am I as a person? Who am I as an individual? And so you do your, what do they call them? Your UCAS. So you're doing your UCAS, you do your I can't remember, it's so far ago. You know, in your 6th form, the first year of exams that you do. And then after that, you then decide what you want to go to university to do.
Yeah, AS levels.
AS, thank you so much. Because now it's all these numbers and I don't know what it means anymore. All these numbers. So my mum's like, oh, Tolu, you should go and be a lawyer because you can talk. And you know Nigerians is that simple, by the way.
Yeah.
They can determine your whole life because you can talk.
You can talk.
Pocket lawyer.
As in, and I'm like, right, like, just be a banter doesn't mean I'm going to be a lawyer. But I took her word for it.
Yeah.
And I think a really important bit in my story is that because I was used to being one of 4, I wasn't used to being one of 1. And so I didn't have a lot of confidence.
Okay.
I sat very comfortably and preferably in my sibling's shadow. I liked it there.
Yeah.
It's comfortable. It's convenient.
Because I was going to say, like, imagine going into school and there's 4 of you from day one.
Day one.
That's insane, you know.
I
Before
always say-
making any friends, there's 4 of you.
I always say, I don't even know what it feels like to go to school and be the only one. We always had someone to have lunch with, someone to walk home with, someone to go to school with. Like, I don't know what it feels like to be an only child going to school for the first time and standing in the playground. And I'm actually quite grateful to God because kids are cruel.
Yeah.
They are.
But not with us. I wish you would. Like, I wish somebody would. And so we always had each other. And it was so, I can't describe the level of comfort you have. And I guess, you know, you've both got kids, so you probably see how your children are together. And there's just that sibling kind of comfort. But we had it because we were also the same age, same life stage, and we were doing everything together. But university was different. So we went to SFX. Shout out to SFX. Maybe
Wow.
we'll see if we
Wow.
shout out at
Very
the end of it.
popular.
We went to
SFX
SFX.
or Christ the King.
Christ the
Christ the
King,
King,
those are the two.
exactly.
Those are the
Yeah,
two.
yeah,
And
those are
actually,
two.
I wanted to go to Christ the King, but Mum said, no, you got to go SFX. And that was so much further from our house. I used to get train and buses to get there, but we did. And I'm going to tell this story real quick. So I go to the career counsellor lady. You got to write a personal statement. So I wrote a personal statement to do law. And then she read it and she was like, okay, cool. So talk to me about why you want to do law. And I sat there mumbling like a mumbler. Like, I couldn't tell her why I wanted to do law. I had no story. Oh, because my mum said, she said, your mum? And the thing is, to this day, I believe she was an angel, okay? Just work with me. I don't even remember her name. All I know that she was a Caribbean lady. I don't remember her name. I couldn't remember if I saw her on the streets. But I remember her words, powerful. So anyway, she said, okay, I've seen this before. Like, you Nigerians come in here telling me you want to do something. She said, what do you really want to do? I said, I want to do history. I want to do a history degree. I was really good at history. So she said, okay, cool, go back and write a personal statement for that. So I went to tell my mum, I want to go and do history, blah, blah, blah. I then came back to her and then she said, okay, cool, let's go through your options. What universities do you want to go to? And I had some good universities, Russell Group universities. And then she said, oh, but you know that you've got the grades that you can go to Oxford or Cambridge. And I'm, 17 years old. I don't know anybody that's been to Oxford or Cambridge. I can't even tell you where they are on a map. I don't know anything about it. So I was like, yeah, it's not really a bit of me. You know what I mean? Like, I like my people, them there, innit? So I was like, she's like, no, like, just put one of them down as one of your 5. Like, she said to me, call it a wild card. So I did. But at SFX, the process was that you had to go and see the VP at the time, and he had some form or whatever, because to apply for Oxford and Cambridge, you have to apply earlier than all the other universities. So he had a whole little system. So I rock up to his office, and I remember, this is Tolu, 17 years old. I'm not a confident person at all. So I knock on his door. I remember going into the room, like this dark green carpet, dark brown oak table. I walk in, hi, Mr. Whatever. I want to apply to, so I decided Cambridge because they were the best for history that year. I said, I want to apply to Cambridge. Can I have like the UCAS form early? And you know what he said to me? He said, no, you can't. He said, I've already picked a group of people who, since first year, so that's a whole year ago, they had been going on tours to Oxford and Cambridge. They had been visiting the colleges. They had been doing all the... And some of us didn't even know that was going on, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
None of us. So he then said, so no, you can't apply. I've already got the group. I said, oh, okay. Thank you. I left. I went back to the Jamaican lady, or Caribbean lady. I think she was Jamaican, actually. And I said, okay, well, I actually did do as you say. Because at this point, I would just do what anyone tells me to do.
Yeah.
I did what you said. He told me no. And I'll never forget it. She said to me, she put her hand out there. She said, you go back and you tell him, I'm not asking for your permission to apply. I'm telling you I'm applying. So me too, I went there. I went back there, knock, knock, shuffling like a penguin. I'm not asking you to apply. I'm telling you that I'm applying. And he was like, okay. He opened up his drawer. I'll never forget. He sat there in his white shirt, opened up his drawer, picked up this yellow UCAS form, gave it to me, but it flew over the desk onto the floor. I pick up, take the form, I apply. I get invited to interview. My history teacher helped me with my personal statement because for Cambridge, you had to write a separate one. I get invited to interview. Long story short, went to interview. First time I ever went to Cambridge. So I applied blindly. Cambridge has 31 colleges. It's a collegiate university. So I had never been to Cambridge. I just looked on the list of which... So Cambridge ranked the first that year for history. So then I looked at which college ranked the first at Cambridge for history. That was Peterhouse, which was established, I think, in 1284. The oldest college in Cambridge.
Bro, when someone says 1284,
Exactly.
I'm not even thinking about a year. I'm thinking, is this on the back of a wine bottle or something?
Bro, when I hear all this, all I think is that before or after the Great Fire of London? That's the only piece of history I can remember.
Pre or post the Fire of London. And long story short, so I get there, I'm like the only black person there, I'm the only woman there. All these little, like, not little, but all these white guys in suits. I'm just like there in like a little Primark cardigan and some smart trousers that I bought the weekend before. Got my hair in braids. I do the interview. You got to write a written exam. All this kind of stuff. I did it. I came back. And then when it came down to results, I got offered a place. And then, long story short, it became like a thing. Me and my siblings were on the news. It was a whole little thing because we were going to college. It was like, oh, the quads are going to college type vibe. And then I'll never forget. So I got in, my vice principal was like, oh, congratulations. We're so proud. And I'm sitting there thinking like, we're so proud.
We're so proud.
Okay. But I left it. And when I get to the end of it, I'll tell you, there's something about humility in certain seasons of your life. And so I left it. Got to Cambridge first year, first week, freshers week. In my pigeonhole, which is like where you collect your mail and your parcels and stuff, was a card from said vice principal congratulating me once again and wishing me all the best at Cambridge. And at that point, because don't forget, I'm South East London. I was born in New Cross, okay? Like, I'm SE 14, if you need to know. Like, moved to Woolwich, SE 18. So I'm as south as they get. So when I got that card, I felt like responding and being like, I beg your pardon, because you literally told me not to apply and now you're sending cards. Don't message me again, but I didn't. I wasn't even saved by this. I didn't even know Christ, so I can't. I just said it was the Holy Spirit before I knew it was the Holy Spirit, and I left it. And I was like, okay, cool, he sent me a card. Now, this is where I'm going, and this is where we're getting to. 3 years later, it's graduation week. I get another card in my pigeonhole. and it's from him. And this time round, he says, congratulations on your graduation. I'm so proud of you. Da, da, da. I'm so glad you decided to apply despite my initial reservations. And it made me realize that 3 years later, he never forgot. He never, I didn't, but he never forgot. And in that moment, I realized that, number one, Cambridge drastically changed the trajectory of my life and the people around me, because I was able to come back and share all the things the knowledge capital, the social capital, cultural capital, the things they don't tell you. But I also realized that never will I let another person's view limit my horizons. Because he, and let's be very frank, a white man did not see something in me. He decided that he was going to be the author and the finisher of my university decision. If it wasn't for that black Jamaican lady, and God bless her wherever she is, if you hear this and you know this story, tell me who you are. If it wasn't for her, my life would have been drastically different. And so I would just say, we all look out, but we have different horizons. Never let someone else, just because they can't see, never let someone else limit your horizons. And so my story really starts with me being a quadruplet, but the pinnacle of my story and where things start to change is when I went to Cambridge, because that's when I started to learn what them people them there are doing. I got the confidence of a white guy. I had access to opportunities that are very unfair. Organizations will come and for your grad scheme, they'll take you straight to assessment center, no application required.
Wow.
Because you're at Cambridge. And I realized very early on that meritocracy is a myth. Don't let them lie to you. It takes more than hard work. It takes more than have you got two heads? Yes, actually, some people do have two heads. And one of them's called a network. That's looking out for them with that two heads. So I realized so much. And because of that experience, it drastically changed the entire trajectory of my life.
So do you think then, saying all that, because a lot of people will say because of that, that's why their kids are in private school, and then their kids are in private school and they're going bankrupt trying to get their kids into these universities because it's going to make it. Do you feel like, because obviously you were just smart, you're just intelligent, it was just a natural gift to you. Do you feel like, especially in our community, do you feel like it's worth going bankrupt to try and get into those environments?
Okay, this is a very good question. And me and my siblings debate this all the time. And I would say maybe one or two things. The first thing I would say is don't go bankrupt for anything, because you're going to need to have money to live. I know people that even through my Cambridge experience or even after my Cambridge experience did not come from typical Cambridge backgrounds. And I will tell you the first hand, the learning curve is steep, because it's one thing to be, you might be, you know how they say you might be a big fish in a small pond. When you move into certain circles, you then become a very small fish in a very big pond. So you might have been excellent in your world, but maybe you're not as excellent in a new world. And it takes a language of influence. You need to know the conducts. Like I was up in formals learning how to use my knife and fork, because you know how they come in from the left and which cup is yours, left. I had to be learning all these things. Some
at
people
uni?
At uni. Some people
That's
learned
insane.
this. Some people learned this way back. We had formals. I'm talking like 3-course dinner formals, processions, all these little things that people learn way, way, way back.
Even this, I didn't know that. You'd have to... Bro, I'm just thinking about my uni experience.
Yeah, completely different, mind you.
That's crazy. Us guys, we were eating dinner on our
use
knees.
your spoon. Use your
on the
spoon to eat
TikToks.
everything with a spoon. So you had to learn all those little things. And those are the subtle things. But then it's also like, you'll get down, never forget, even as a second year, the freshers would come in and they'll try to spy out who's worth knowing. They'll be telling you, what do your parents do? You just got here, you're a first year, can you relax? Crazy. But everybody's networking, everyone's trying to figure out who's who. Oh, my parents own this brand. My dad went yachting with Richard Branson. And people were just throwing those things around. So the first thing I'd say is, if you don't come from a background like that, are you prepared to also give your child the wraparound care required to survive in those environments and institutions? Because it's not easy. Certain people, they have means to then go on the ski trips. They have means to then go on the foreign exchange trips. They have means to then allow their kids to socialize in certain kinds of ways. In my first year, I actually had a bit of money left over, and I went on me and about 19 people at Peterhouse in our first year kind of undergrad went to the south of France. 19 people. Great summer. But if I didn't have means, I couldn't have gone. So I guess the point I'm making is that it's not just the education, it's everything else that sits around that. So I think there is value in doing it. You need to make sure you can also provide the lifestyle that your child needs to thrive in that environment. But also the second thing is you also need to know the kind of child that you have, because some children may not survive that kind of environment unless you've got a strong sense of identity. And ironically, I didn't have a strong sense of identity. I learned who I was as a result of that experience and finding new community. But I also know that if you're not able to stand on your own 2 feet, bullying in those kind of environments is high. people taking drugs, all of those kind of recreational things that you may not want to expose your child to if they don't have a strong enough will. So that's another thing to take into consideration. It's
kind of one of those deep end sink or swim things that you really don't know how it's gonna turn out.
Yeah, it's mad. I remember I went Cambridge to give a talk. So I never thought I'd ever see Cambridge. I got a third class at uni. I never thought I'd ever see Cambridge. So I've gone down there to give a finance talk to the Afro-Caribbean Society.
Nice. Shout out to ACS. I was social secretary 2009 to 2010, baby. Shout. So still got my hoodie, wear it all the time.
So I've gone down there. Number one, the thing that was the library was rammed. It's a Saturday. Yeah. The library was packed. Yeah. So obviously I'm just curious. I'm just like, what's happening? Why so much people in the library?
Who's performing?
What's going on?
We're studying
on a Saturday. So they said, oh yeah. So basically, obviously we've got the test that everyone else does, but our lecturers give us tests as well.
Yeah.
That it doesn't count towards your grade, but you have to pass it.
Yep.
And I was like, what do you mean it doesn't count? Like, so it's like, no, it doesn't count to your grade, but you must complete it. Yeah. And so you've got all of that on top of everything else that you got to do. Plus, like you said, they've got to do certain social stuff to show that they, the things they do in the community and things they do outside to show their personality and that they're more than just money and more than just education. And so library is like, I'm talking a Saturday. Like, I could never.
And you better be early or you ain't getting the desk, mind you.
You
better be early.
When I tell you it was packed, people were sitting outside the library, studying, waiting for people to leave so they could go in.
Yep.
On a Saturday.
Yeah.
I said, wow, it's different.
Yeah.
But then the funniest thing for me is that when I gave the finance talk, bruv, I was the smartest guy in the room.
That's right.
And it's mad how finance is just a different language, right? It doesn't matter how intelligent you are, until you've been taught this stuff, you're going to make the same mistakes. But the questions, when I tell you, bro, I could tell the difference. I'm in a different environment. They were asking me questions that normally I wouldn't get unless I'm in corporate. And I'm speaking to executives. They were asking me the level of question I was getting. I was saying, no, I can understand you're intelligent because you asked the right questions. And that's something you can only learn in the environment, and also to be confident enough to ask and even challenge. No, but you said this, but I think, to even challenge, I said, this is why people pay to get into that environment.
I was going to say, it sounds like there's so many different things that are being learned. Like, it's not just book smart. Even like the test before a test that counts. It's like, now all of a sudden you're working, because I guess all of us, well, you and I that went to normal uni, I went Portsmouth, you know what I'm trying to say?
Normal uni, you guys are crazy.
First year, second year, they told me it didn't count. It's like, all right, I'm activating third year then.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? But this thing is teach you from early that it does, whether it counts or not, you're going to bang this thing.
You're going to bang
to stay relevant. And it's teaching you all sorts of different skills.
Because you're trained in consistency. So I did a history degree, and only my third year counted, but every single week from day one, I had to do essays. Every single week.
Yeah.
Because only my third year counted, but you'll get graded, and they teach you a consistency. And so when you see a lot of these kids, it's the discipline. Yeah. It's a level of discipline and focus where and because also I had to catch up. Yes, I'm intellectual, but it's the pace. Yeah. So I was and that's what after a while I had to stop following people. First year you want to be out and about in the club. You guys can write an essay, first class essay in 4 hours whilst drunk. I need to sit down for the weekend and write this thing out and plan it. But it is a level of discipline that when you've been in these environments and systems from a long time, and I'm talking, some of them are in private school from 5 boarding school, because their parents are diplomats and whatever. There's a level of consistency that shows up, and unless you are intentional about investing in yourself to close the gap gets wider. Yeah. In society, the gap gets wider.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love that. Even what I really liked was the history. So I one of my favorite films is Crazy Rich Asians, and the reason I love it is because of the culture. Because they're practicing things today that are hundreds of years old, and they don't care. I remember he had been disrespectful to his teacher, and he had to bow and do it in a certain way, and the teacher's like, no, you don't need to do it, and the parents are like, no. Does because it's our culture, and this will not go. So he will be doing the same thing to his children and so forth. And when I was at Cambridge, they were giving me a tour. Obviously, they want to show me around. they're like, no, we can't go there because
Yeah.
you need to be from this house
Yeah.
and be able to.
Can't step on the grass.
You can't step on the grass.
Can't step on the grass.
When I tell you, security can't step on the grass.
Can't step on the grass, no.
And it's not even before security will tell you. They will tell you, like actual. It's that they take pride. No, you can't step on this grass, and it's like actually having those rules and boundaries and understanding. As much as you are here and you've paid for your education, you still are.
Yeah.
You still have to follow the rules.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
to.
And you're a
confide
part
in
of tradition. That's how it's
Exactly.
positioned to you. Like, you're a part of tradition. And it's interesting because when you're there, for some people, there's a crazy sense of entitlement for being there. But for other people, they really instill in you that you are part of a tradition. You have to be a good steward of that tradition and then pass that on and role model and all that kind of stuff. It's a big hook for them. You're part of tradition. Yeah.
So that's obviously had an impact on your whole career. And how's it had an impact on what you do today, basically? Because you've kind of experienced what it's like to have kind of those, and it was through your hard work, but you still got to see firsthand how people just being born into a certain family can mean that you've just got a massive head start on other people in life. So how's that kind of weaved its way into what you do for your career?
So when I left Cambridge, obviously you're kind of encouraged to go down the profession. So I did an internship in banking, then I did a graduate internship at Accenture, and then I stayed at Accenture for a couple of years. But then after that, I left, and while I was at Accenture, it's actually quite funny when I did that. Should I say? I can say it. It's many years later. I'll never forget my final round interview at Accenture. Wasn't even an interview. The interviewer went to Cambridge and we ended up having a conversation about Cambridge. And then he asked me one random question about, why do you want to work for Accenture? And I was like, yeah, all the things that you rehearse. But 90% of my conversation was about, you went to Cambridge, I went to Cambridge, and that's actually how this world works.
Yeah,
It's done. It's done.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it's done.
And
Cambridge
you
is done.
like it or not, it's bad. But that's how it works. That's why I also have to recognize I've been a beneficiary of certain kinds of privileges.
Yeah, nepotism. People. Yeah.
And ultimately, it's impacted the way in which I show up in the world now when I do work, because I also want to make sure that I can bring as many people into that as possible. And so there's certain things that, sometimes it's you might get a young and send you an email and it's hey, so I'm like, okay, but FYI, when you send emails, you do it like this. When you come to work, you show up like that. When you're in a meeting, please speak up. And teaching people those unwritten rules of the workplace. Yes. Because it's funny, I always say, no one actually teaches you how to write a formal email until you start work, and then you just have to see how everyone else is doing it. Mm-hmm. There's certain things people don't teach you, but actually when you've been in certain environments for a long time, it becomes second nature to you. Yeah. And so I was able to go to interviews. I was able to show up. I was able to kind of be in an assessment center because I came from Cambridge where we used to do group supervisions. And you had to talk in your group supervision. Even if you didn't want to, they would ask you, Tolu, what do you think about this? And we're talking about medieval peasant farming. And they expect you to have an opinion, and you have to have an opinion. You're in a room with the person who wrote the book that you're reading. With I'll never forget, I did my dissertation with Professor Richard Evans, who's one of the leading authorities on German history, and he was teaching me about stuff that I read he was doing. I read his books in college, and now you're teaching me at Cambridge. Am I not going to have a question? I've got questions. So you're taught certain things, right? Yeah. But that doesn't show up in the workplace. And so when I left Accenture, I actually moved into the world of inclusion and diversity, or diversity and inclusion, or I'll just say DEI for ease, because there was something in me that would just set a light around how different people's outcomes could be and actually are through limited information. Sometimes we always talk about, being on the outside looking in. But I always say that some people don't even know where the house is. It's one thing to look through the window. We don't even know where the house is. Yep. We don't even know it exists. Yep. There are worlds, there are conversations going on, there are decisions being made that we have no clue about.
Come on.
Because we don't have access.
You even said at your own college, they were taking people to visit.
People were already been on trips.
And you didn't even know.
And we know what's going on. All of us
that should be announced, no?
Chicken and chips in the common room. Everyone else is on trips.
Think about
sick
on the river.
Think about the selection.
You come to class, where's so they're not in. They didn't tell you where they are.
Think about that. Yeah. When you really think about it, it's actually mad.
That's actually mad.
Because you would assume that everybody would get an opportunity, especially the way they position this UK, and it's about being fair and there's no class system. And you'd expect that, especially a school like SFX, where you know that the majority of people are coming from the hood.
Not the hood.
The majority of people are in the ends. It's in the ends.
Literally
in the ends college. So you would expect that if you're having an opportunity, at least everyone should know that, right, this is happening, put your name forward, and then then at least if you didn't get selected, you knew there was an opportunity. But for you to not even have heard,
not a whiskers.
So if that's happening at SFX, how much more so in everything else?
And it is absolutely happening like that. I've been in environments where, and we talk about it a lot, 80% of jobs that are even going out to market have already been filled. They just do it just to fulfill all righteousness.
Yeah.
Just to fulfill all processes. Like, that's how decisions are made. And like, we were talking earlier about likability. Like, when I was at Cambridge, I also realized the power of being liked. Sometimes you can be clever and people just like, oh, but he's just, you know what, he's like. You know, also, money actually doesn't give you access to everything, you know. People will only tolerate you to the height of their ability to like, oh, fine. Yeah. But after that, no. When decisions are being made to favour you, likability counts for a lot.
A lot.
Counts for a lot. And so that's what brought me into the world of DEI, because I realised that the gap between that quote-unquote haves and have-not, too big. The lack of equity, but also social mobility was the first thing that brought me to DEI. I used to work for a social mobility charity. That was my first area that I covered. And it's quite full circle, because now at Diageo, I'm kind of leading that work again now. Because that for me is my bread and butter. So when I talk about people in the corporate space, it's the socially mobile community, because that's the community that I identify with. That's my bread and butter around how do I help people from certain kind of backgrounds thrive and succeed, and ultimately to translate the unwritten rules of the workplace.
Yeah.
Like, that's really what it is.
But how do you balance it? Because like, I remember when I was in corporate, like I've got luckily for me, I become a financial advisor at 22. I'm in corporate, like you said, the emails, the way I was talking, I couldn't get away with it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm lucky I had a manager that, when I tell you my manager, he loved me off. Like, he loved me off. But my emails, it was bad. So he got to the point where, luckily for me, he was send me your email before you send it out.
I was gonna say that's what.
Luckily, but most of them won't do that. You will embarrass yourself 2-3 times, and you're sacked. He will send it to me, but then even the way I talk, because I mean I can't help it. I talk in a certain way. He would tell me, look, I understand that, but I need you to understand that in this environment you need to speak like this. But understand that you are not being fake, because that's one of the biggest things
you're
for me.
selling out, you're being a raccoon or whatever they call it. But the reality is, and I've heard it said, that you need to be yourself with skill.
Exactly.
Of course.
Exactly.
And not to make everything too Bible, but Paul said that he was different things to different people.
Yes.
And to some people, he became all things.
Yeah.
And so I feel like for us to succeed in life, you have to, I cannot show up as my real self at work. I don't get paid to do that. I get paid to show up as my best self in line with the culture, the values, and my job description. You don't actually need me to show up as the reason my job exists in the world of diversity and inclusion is because people come to work as their true selves. as they're racist, homophobic, sexist,
Facts.
horrible, nasty bullies of a self. That's why my job exists, because you come to work with your discriminatory attitudes. You come to work with that's why I'm being paid. Don't come to work as yourself. Show up as yourself with skill. And like you said, I love what you shared, because you were humble enough to take the feedback. Sometimes, and that's why they say not all skin folk is kinfolk, but either way, not everyone's your people, them. Because you want to help somebody, them too, they think they know too much. Okay, you're talking, be going. Because I'm actually helping you. Like, certain people, I'll just say, okay, you know what, FYI, obviously I was in that meeting, I noticed that this, okay, maybe this is how you want to try positioning it next time. You know, manage your stakeholders. Oh, no, but I know what I'm saying. Okay, yeah, you do.
Yeah, do your thing.
Do your thing.
No, but you need it. You need people. And my thing was, and this is why I'm so passionate about where I am now, and especially going into give talk. Like, when I go and give talks at Barclays, for me, it's mad, because I go in a hoodie now, innit?
Yeah.
Like,
not the suit and the tie to the neck, choking to the neck.
I remember I used to we have to send an email if you want to take your tie down. Yeah, in the summertime, you have to send an email to not have a tie at all when it's hot. But
crazy.
That's how a suit was so important, as your uniform. So for me to go into Barclays in a oversized jacket or in a hoodie, and give a talk to senior people that are all in suits, obviously. And I'm talking for me, it's just that roundabout, that turnaround moment.
Yeah, real full circle.
Yeah.
It's crazy, because even in that situation, you're still turning up as your best self. Yeah. And it's funny, what I often say to people is that, I'm so glad that you both mentioned the turn up your best self, because I often say that, look, if both of your parents were in this room right now, am I talking the same way to them as I'm talking to you guys?
Come on.
It's not. We choose our best self. Yes. I don't want to get no lick at the back of my head. So I'm giving the best self. You get what I'm trying to say? What I said I did on the weekend to you guys will be different. I was just reading my book, you know. I was just studying small. So you got to show up as your best self at work.
And I feel like exactly that, because people are, but I don't want to be a sellout. And I always said that you can either be a Superman or you can be a Clark Kent.
Facts.
And both of them are the same person.
Facts.
One is just an enhanced version of the same person. And there might be certain times in your career or in your environment where you're going to need to just be a Clark Kent, be a regular person. And that's, sometimes even for me now at my level, certain meetings I'm in, okay, I'm there because you want my opinion, but I'm not really here to do much. Yeah. I'm not running the meeting. I'm not leading the meeting. I'm not multitasking in the meeting. So I'm just going to be Clark Kent. Other times, I'm going to be Superwoman in that meeting. Hello, Tolu's here. My opinions, and I will do what I need to do while them, and then I'll be like, okay. So you need to be who you are with skills. Sometimes people feel like, oh, I'm just going to show up as my real self and be lazy. Like, if I talk, they'll say I'm talking. Likability and excellence are two factors that it's either you have it or you don't. And I can see the people that have really progressed in a really authentic, but really like, a great way because they're likable, but they're excellent. Some of you are showing up and you're not excellent and you wonder why you're not getting things. And you're saying it's because you're black. It's not because you're black, it's because you're shoddy.
Yeah. And excellence to me comes from practice. Yeah. People are like, man, how do you show?
It's a skill.
I have to practice.
Yeah.
Bruv, if I tell you like certain talks that I do, my wife will know it off by head because I will make her be the audience. I'll say, what did you think about that? Oh yeah, what did you think about that joke? Was it? Because even my jokes, people don't really realize my jokes are all rehearsed. I know it's the first time you're hearing it, but I know you're gonna laugh because I've bust this before. I know it, and I could just pick them in. And so people be like, "Oh, E-man is so master, bruv. This is like my 1,000th time saying it. It's just the first time you're hearing it. But I've done this so many times, and I take, like you said, criticism. I love it. I love it when people try and make me be better because I want that 1%. I want it to be, and I've had people that I've done the same talk 5 times. The same person has been 5 times. They've took different things each time. Because even though it's rehearsed, I know that depending on what the audience give me, I'm gonna shape it to them. But I can only do that because I know it inside out. Like there's no blagging. I can't blag. I've practiced. I mean, to the core. Like I've cut stuff out. I will do with my slides. I'll do like 100 slides, even though I only need 30, and then think, what am I gonna take out? What am I gonna take out? And then if I get to 40, I tell them I'm gonna go over time because I need these 40. But it's about doing more. But I feel like this generation is like, what is the minimum I can do?
Minimum.
And then they're like, man, I want to be like you. I'm like, no, you don't.
Because you're not willing to pay the price. There's a sacrifice that comes to be like.
Come on.
And some of you ain't willing to pay the price. And you know what it is as well? I feel like sometimes we see people's wins, we see their victories, and we don't see their scars. We don't see the battle scars. I've heard it say that, show me a soldier, and then no. If you call yourself a soldier, show me the battle scars. Like you should have been through something. You should have, and so you don't want to go through the battle scars. You don't want to have to invest in yourself. You don't want to show up as your best self. You don't have to sacrifice. To some extent, maybe sacrifice is a part of success. And you're gonna need to be willing to do that. But not everybody wants to do that.
Let's talk about some of your kind of sacrifices in your industry because I guess you're global head of inclusion and diversity. So that's a big deal. And there's going to be people listening to this thinking, maybe they're at the cusp of thinking, do I want to get into inclusion and diversity? Because while it's super important, it's built up significantly recently, isn't it? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So what would be kind of like your experiences that you could speak about and getting to be a global head? And we also want to know what that looks like as well, like flying here, flying there, you know what I'm saying? Like,
we ain't flying. Do you know what it is? It's funny actually. My previous role at Amazon, I did a lot more flying there than I did here.
Okay, cool.
Because actually Diageo is a very sustainability conscious company, so we don't fly as much.
I'm joking.
No taxi, no. We don't even fly as much. But yeah, so within my day-to-day role actually, so this can sound so cliche, there's no 2 days that are the same. And it's because actually the work that I cover is a very big remit. And so I'm working with marketing teams, commercial teams. I'm working with our broader sustainability teams. I'm working with our internal teams. I'm working with our resource groups. And it's constantly like evolving. Like I was telling you guys now, like we're coming to the end of our financial year and there's a lot of stuff that needs to go on around governance and reporting. So I feel like this role is so broad in the sense that there's so much going on. But I love the depth that I can have by working with markets. And so some of the work that I'm doing, I have a couple of pilot markets here. So what we're doing in Hungary or what we're going to be doing in Mexico. And it's allowing me to also refine my craft because I know a lot about a lot, but actually I'm also starting to learn a lot about a little. So I'm getting to go deep. Like, I didn't really know a lot about what's going on in Latin America. Just at a really broad, high-level sense, but actually being able to go in deep and partner with the countries that sit within that region and that market, that's been great for me. So the first thing I'd say is that you're always learning. So anybody that wants to come into this work, there's no one and done. You're always learning because society is always changing. The needs of people change. Some needs stay the same, the bread and butter. I always say that D&I for me is a knife and fork issue. It comes down to how much are people being paid? Because they need it to survive. It's a survival issue on the one hand. And so we look at all of our jobs, promotions, progressions, representations, fair pay. That's bread and butter. But the rest of it is societal, right? Like, how do people feel at work? How do people feel in society? So you're constantly having to learn as the changing demands of the world and people in it grow and expand. Like, we're in a very, what I would call, very precarious situation right now with a lot of wars and a lot of conflicts around the world, but that's also impacting the people that work for us. Yes. Either people who live and work in those territories or who are impacted because they're from those communities. So having to respond to our people in the context of current affairs is also something that you have to constantly be ebbing and flowing with. So I would say that my world is a world of learning. Don't come to DNI or IND, whatever, if you feel like you're just going to come in and be one and done. You're constantly learning. Yeah. So you need to have a mind that's open to knowledge and learning. That's one thing I'd say.
Before I get into the next question, sorry, that's my fault. Can you please break down to the people listening or watching who you work for? Because I know Diageo, and I know them because when I first was practicing like how to trade back when I was young, on my dummy trading account, I bought a little bit of, watching it go up and down. But yeah, tell the people.
So Diageo, you may not know the name, but you'll know the brand. So Diageo is one of the world's largest alcohol manufacturing producers. And so actually think Ciroc, Smirnoff, Guinness, Baileys, Tanqueray, Pimm's, there's a Captain Morgan, all them drinks there, Don Julio. So all of you people that like your 1942, Don Julio, all of those brands sit within the Diageo portfolio. Diageo has crazy brands, some of the world's biggest alcohol brands in the world. So that's actually who Diageo is. We make drinks.
And just a question that I know the listeners and the viewers are going to want to ask. What happened with Coffee Patron? Don Julio Coffee Patron. Have you got any insights that you can give us an exclusive? No comment.
No
what
comment.
Are you trying to do here? What are you trying to do here?
Guys, let us know in the comments if you wanted to hear.
Coffee's Patron's not us.
What do you mean? It's Don Julio?
No, it's not. Patron's Patron. That's a different brand.
But isn't it Don Julio?
No. They got similar bottles, but it's not us,
Oh.
For a second, Google it while we're here. Because for a second, I was like, is it us? No, it's not us. We're not Patron. Patron's someone else.
Interesting. I'll Google it.
Yeah, I think Patron's someone else.
The next question I was going to ask.
If it's not, then my bad. That's awkward.
The next question I was going to ask a bit more serious. So, you're fortunate, and I guess Iman and I are fortunate as well because there's passion in the work that we do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? But one question that's always asked is, does it pay? Being able to make an impact on other people's lives, sometimes historically, generally speaking in the world, for when you think about nurses and people like that, they're having the most impact. Teachers, does it pay? I'll say for people, because it's a relatively new industry, what would be your answer to does it pay? And obviously we've got to be, you're global here, isn't it? So there's levels to this, isn't it? So, but generally speaking.
So the first thing I would always say is, does it pay? Yes. Will I say that it pays comparative to being like a big top shop banker? Maybe not. Every once in a while I'm always like, I should have gone into sales, innit? Because especially at Amazon actually, I used to do a bit of work with our sales community and I've got the gift of the gab. I could be making some crazy commission. But what I will say is when I first entered into this world, I had to take a step back in terms of what I was earning. And that was something that actually took me a while to reconcile. So I left Accenture and I was earning less doing work that I loved, managing a team, delivering national projects, working with people like KPMG, Deloitte, Civil Service and stuff like McKinsey. And I was earning less doing that than I was as an analyst at Accenture. Then after that, I then moved from there. I was at London South Bank. And I think at London South Bank, I was still earning less than Accenture. Then I moved into a role leading DNI, like a national program for construction. And then that was the first time, which would have been about 3 years later, where I felt like I kind of rejoined, like merged my trajectory. But it was really tough because at that time, like some of my friends were buying houses, buying nice shiny cars. I'm talking Germans, like nice shiny cars. You go out to eat and everyone's splitting the bill. And I'm here on my small wage like this. And so for a long time in my life, it wasn't paying the bills. No, that's a lie. It was paying the bills. Let me not be greedy. But it wasn't stacking the coffers. I wasn't saving a lot. But what I have also seen, and this is to the glory of God, I've also seen how God has redeemed the time because I was also able to start this work at a time where it wasn't really a thing. 10 years ago, 11 years ago, it was a thing, but it wasn't a thing. So I was able to kind of really learn on the job. Yeah. Move around and make decisions. So I was doing a bit of social mobility, I was doing a bit of disability, I was doing a bit of race. I was able to move around and learn on the job, build networks, hone my craft. So that by the time I left construction, I was at Sainsbury's. I moved to Sainsbury's in 2019. I went to Sainsbury's 2019 in June. And then a year later, George Floyd happened. And all of a sudden, it was spotlight on D&I. And I actually came to Sainsbury's to lead race and religion for a whole year pre-George Floyd. And I remember 3 weeks before the murder of George Floyd, I launched a Let's Talk About Race training. And then all of a sudden, even before George, was it the same year as George Floyd? No, the year before that, I came and did all the Black History Month stuff. And that was because I had that energy, that passion, that excitement. I was able to learn on the job, make mistakes on the job, and then continue to hone my craft. Whereas now for folks that want to enter this world, people expect you already in 2024 to have 5 years of experience. Where are you going to get 5 years of experience, 7 years of experience? At my level, they probably want about 12, 15 years of experience. Where are you going to get that from if you haven't been doing it previously? So that's the first thing I'd say. So in terms of pay, I now feel like I've caught back up. And actually, if I'm being honest, surpassed my own trajectory in terms of where I might have been if I stayed in different environments. But I've also had to be very, I'll use the word calculated, but not in a negative sense, very calculated about the career risks or jumps that I've taken. And so for a long time, we hadn't really been hearing about like a chief diversity officer. Even at the time of, I think only probably at the time of George Floyd, we started hearing around like D&I manager roles, global head roles, you know. But before then, it was very difficult to determine where you would go for your next role. So you have to wait in an organization and then maybe wait for them to decide that they want to promote you or whatever, because it was so sketchy. Nobody really knew your A to your B. Like my siblings work in finance, 2 of them work in finance. It's very clear how to go from a day one person to a CFO there. A very clear path, not for my world. So I've had to move around, but in moving around, it's also meant that I've been able to kind of negotiate very well, because we also know that when you stay internally, promotions, you don't get paid as much as you would externally. So that's worked in my favor. So yeah, right now it's paying me well.
Jeez.
I would say it's paying. So your girls being blessed.
Amen.
And being a blessing.
No, which is good. I wanted to ask you about the title. So does the job title, what does it mean to you? Does it make you feel like all those days are worth it? Is it doesn't define you, so it doesn't make it? Because one of the big problems is that a lot of people work really hard, get a title, and then be defined by it. And then the second they get made redundant or lose their job, now they want to commit suicide.
Talk about it.
Do you know what I mean? So how do you go from like you've got to this position, people are giving you the big ups, you feel justified at the hard work has got you there, but how do you not let it define you so that you know that you are more than just the job title?
Yeah. As a woman would say, you are more than that. For me, I had to fight for who I am today. I had to fight to discover who Tolu is outside of the context of being a quadruplet. That was such a big... Going to uni really redefined our whole relationship as quadruplets. And I really emerged as who I am today. And so I've had to fight for my identity. I cannot let something else take that away from me. So that's so integral to me, especially when I became a Christian and I became saved at uni. My identity in Christ is so rooted that, especially with jobs and stuff, I always and I pray this consistently to God. I say, don't take me somewhere that I'm too big to give you the glory when I get there. Like 2022, I won like 5 awards. 2023, I won some awards. And I remember I did a speech at one of my awards, and people like still talk about it now. They said it was like a sermon. It was like a sermon. Because one thing about me, I'm gonna praise my Lord and Savior when I get there. Like, I'm so invested in my relationship with God that I will never let anything else allow me to kind of rise or fall to the accolades of men. So that's the first thing. My identity means a lot to me. My identity in Christ means a lot to me. But the third thing is I wouldn't be honest if I said that the titles don't matter. In my world, the title does matter. And the reason it matters is because it's a recognition of, at least for me, it's a recognition of the journey that's brought me to where I am today. But also it's a recognition of a level of seniority that gives you a voice around the table. Yes. Because also in the D&I world, people think, oh, it's just D&I, oh, it's just a bit of this, it just doesn't make sense. And so sometimes they want to undermine the value you're actually bringing to an organization. They don't want you to be in certain rooms. They don't want you to have certain conversations. They don't want you to sit shoulder to shoulder with the global head of this team or the global head of sales. Okay, no, but we're all at the table now. So where do we go from here? So I think the title matters because it gives me a level of delegated authority to continue to show up in a way that allows me to make an impact. But I would still be who I was if my title was coordinator or global head. The difference is I wouldn't give you all of that because you won't pay me for that. Yeah. So also, there's also a contract, right, where you pay me to do a certain thing and I will show up at that level. Yeah. Maybe even and more. But if you don't, I'm also going to give you what you pay me for. So there's also a bit of that as well. But yeah, I'm not defined by titles because I've got such a strong sense of identity that even before you gave me a title, I was still who I am.
I love that. But now, I guess, doing what you're doing, see at the table, obviously we're happy that we've got someone like you representing us at that high level. But we spoke earlier about nepotism. How do you... I know people at home will be thinking the same thing, like, is there any point, like certain jobs, is there any point applying or if nepotism exists, if you've gone to the same uni or same country club or your parents know the owner of the company, like how do you, from a D&I point of view, ensure that people are getting the opportunity, especially from our community, where for a lot of the time we are the first of our family to even be in these positions. So we haven't got an uncle or an auntie that can help us with the application or can tell us do this or do that.
Yeah.
We're literally going further than our parents have, and we can't even ask our parents for advice because a lot of time they haven't been in the positions of the jobs that we're applying for.
What I will say is that in some sectors, and let's not kid ourselves, in some sectors, I'm talking banking, I'm talking law, I'm talking certain kind of finance sectors, I feel like, and this is a personal opinion, not professional opinion, I do feel like there's a bigger pharaoh at play. There's a bigger obstacle at play because it's so much based on nepotism, it's so much based on patronage networks, who knows who can vouch for who. It also feels like some of the rules are a little bit loose over there as well. Like, I remember like my brother was in banking and then you just hear one story of so-and-so's sons come to do work experience. Is there a formal work experience program? No, there's not. Is there a formal...
It's not available.
It's not available.
You asked, so they say it's not available.
Is there a formal... Because I've got cousins and stuff. Okay, no, that's not a thing. Okay, fine. I'll never forget, actually, when I did my internship in banking, the girl on my internship program, her sister worked in HR and she was denying it. They had the same surname. They looked the same. She was a shorter version of her and she was denying it. We're like, sis, the jig is up. You guys are related. You guys are related. And she was denying. But that's what's happening.
Yeah.
But I would actually say, the one thing I would say is that in other sectors that I've worked in, some organizations are really putting their money where their mouth is. They're really like... They're basically sticking to their word. And so actually it is the best person for the job. You do have to follow due process. So I would say, like, don't lose hope, don't be discouraged. But it goes back to what I said earlier about excellence. Excellence speaks. When people see your CV, and make sure you do your CV and you tailor your CV to the kind of sector you're trying to work in or the kind of job that you're trying to do, right? So tailor it so that it's very bespoke and specific. And when it goes through an applicant tracking system, you got the right words in there, you got the right information in there that is being flagged in a good way, because some people's CVs go in and it gets dropped out. So I would say make sure your CVs are great and all of that kind of stuff. Make sure you're really rehearsing researching the role in the industry so that you're really having a really crafted and really well-tailored CV. But excellence does speak. People will look at what you've done and they're going to be like, whoa, I want to bring that person in. I want to talk to them. Yeah. And I always just say 9 out of 10 times, the most difficult part of the whole process is just to get in the room. Yeah. If you're excellent, if you're gifted, if you're confident, you can sell yourself at interview. All you got to do is just make it to interview. Yeah. So I just want to encourage people. Yes, there are a lot of obstacles along the way. I can't even play dumb to that. But give yourself a big enough chance to get through the system. And once you get to interview, because I've also seen that as well. Like, I've sat in interviews and it's just like, yeah, like that person's got it. Everything else you can teach, but that person, they've got it.
A lot of it's got to do with like self-belief as well, isn't it? Yeah. Like you mentioned, confidence, being a people person. Like sometimes if you go into it knowing that, do you know what, I'm the bee's knees. I want to talk and I think that.
Sure am. That's right. Yeah.
I think that especially as Brits, in comparison to our American counterparts, they're very happy to say that, yeah, like they'll come in, I've done XYZ at this bank, I've done this and this, I've done this, but we'll be like, yeah, so I did a little role at...
who's we? I. What did you do?
Yeah, exactly that. So I think that in the UK, we definitely just need to get better at just believing in ourselves and like just talking your ish, basically. Yeah. And I think that's huge.
Self-promotion never hurt nobody.
It didn't at all.
And one of the things that I saw a couple of years ago when I was working in the social mobility charity, I coined a term called the gratitude complex. And it basically is, and it's mainly for people who are socially mobile, but can oftentimes identify to people who are like, minority groups as well, where you're so grateful, because you mentioned it earlier, you're so grateful to be in jobs that your parents couldn't even smell, to be earning more than your parents ever earned, to be in environments. You're so grateful that actually that gratitude overwhelms you and you become stagnant. Yeah. Or you go into interview and you're not negotiating for the market rate because you're so, they're paying 50k over there. You're great because no one in your family ever earned 50k. Your parents were earning 20k a piece. So 50k is big money, not knowing that you left 70 on the table. So you're grateful, or you're grateful for an opportunity, not knowing that actually they're paying in your face. Can you go in and get more? Or actually, I'm just going to do these slides, but I'm going to let someone else take the credit because you're grateful to be in the room. No, own it. Show up in that room. Don't let your gratitude be the reason that you're hungry. Grow in the room. Make sure no crumbs are being left on the table. Make sure that you're eating your bread. Like, go eat your bread and your butter. Yeah. But go in and do not let gratitude be the reason that you're hungry. There's so much to win, so much to play for. And I see people, like, there's somebody that I work with, and she'll be like, oh, yeah, I didn't do much. I'm like, you absolutely did do a lot. You did this, that, and that. Talk about it.
And it's so important because it helps the next person as well. Yeah. I think in our industry, I think that when I see people doing mad things on TV, I'm always just so happy. I think I know they secured a bag.
And you guys been on TV. You guys been on TV.
But I'm thinking in due time, I remember I seen the other day Ashley D doing PG tips.
I was so happy.
I said to her today, I was over the moon. actually did it. And we're back.
That's it.
We're back.
That's it.
You get what I'm saying? So I think the stuff that is so key. The other thing I want to talk about is LinkedIn top voice, right? Tolu was LinkedIn top voice, and I think that it ties in with a conversation that we had completely, because you asked about identity.
Yeah.
And it ties in with that massively, because I saw your...
You know how they did me?
Huh?
See how they did me on LinkedIn?
Yeah. But I saw your post, which is literally what you've been talking about, basically. So Tolu was LinkedIn top voice. And what does that actually mean? It means that you're one of the... You like get a badge and stuff like that on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so they've got 2 top voices. They've got like a LinkedIn top voice, which is like a different, like an influencer kind of program. And then they've got a LinkedIn top community voice. So I was a top community voice for personal development and a top community voice for leadership.
Yeah.
So I'm just minding my business on LinkedIn, as I be doing, just writing my posts, sharing my thoughts, sharing my content. It's a lot more. I find LinkedIn a much better platform for me, because Instagram, Twitter, that kind of stuff, they don't really want to have these conversations, not really. And I'm not really into like sitting there doing videos on Instagram Live, not my bag. So LinkedIn, I just write a short post and people engage with it, I have conversations. So my following has grown quite a lot, and people, I guess, respect my thought leadership and the things that I'm saying. So in the end, like LinkedIn invited me, this is before they went live, they invited me to like a little behind the scenes little program. Okay, we love what you're doing. We're going to invite you to this community of experts, contribute to these articles. So then I was a personal development top voice and a leadership top voice until I wasn't.
But like you mentioned, it doesn't define you.
They snatched that thing back, you know?
Why?
So apparently it's all based on engagement. So I was off sick. God forbid somebody is sick. So I did a post, you know, and I did a post about LinkedIn on LinkedIn. I wish you would. Yes, I did. I was off sick. I done had surgery. Okay? I was off the internet, and they just took that thing back. They said, well, they took the voice back. But I just said, you know what? Also, I'm Nigerian, so what you cannot do is shame me. And I said, well, I came to tell them that I'm a top voice, so I told them that they took it back. And so I did a post it. Because people when I say, weren't you?
They'll be talking, they'll be doing their maths around it.
Just me. You can't shame the shameless. And me too. And I said, okay then. They took the thing back. And I did it as a tongue. You read it. Yeah. It was a very tongue and cheek post.
Really nice post.
People were reading. Tony, don't worry, we're with you. We're supporting you. It wasn't even that deep. It really wasn't. It was just a bit of banter.
Yeah, it was.
But the point I was making is, it's not because you call me a top voice that my voice is top. My voice been top. My voice gonna be top. My voice will always be top, because my voice counts. And so to your point, I'm not defined by these things. It's great, but you can give me something today, and if you take it away tomorrow, I'll still be who I am. And oftentimes that didn't make me, respectfully, LinkedIn, I was making you popular. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was making your top voice badge popular. Now that you've taken it, it's not even popular anymore. They don't want it, okay? Nobody wants it anymore. No, but I'm joking. But so I just had to tell the people that they took the badge.
Straight.
Well, I think one of the things I was going to ask you about is, like, when we were talking about people standing out, showing excellence, is social media. Mm-hmm. Because for me, like, I get offered jobs that don't even exist from corporates that say, look, we love your content. We want you to come and be head of brand this. I've never done marketing in my life, bro. Yeah. But they want me to come in and just add my space in these spaces, or we want you to come on our council and be an advisor to this and that. But I wish I had the time. Do you know what I mean? But it's like me doing my stuff in my lane and showing people the way I see the world. Social media has actually helped me now to a point where I'm self-employed, like doing social media. Do you know what I mean? And I always tell people, like, the first 2 or 3 years I could have get paid more employed, but now I don't think anyone can afford me employed.
I know that's right.
Do you know what I mean? With
rates gone up.
Like, do you know, it's gone crazy.
Yesterday's price
for the hours that I get. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I've got 4 kids, so for the amount I make, for the hours I get to spend with my family and do and the people I want to do, I don't think I could do corporate. Because I remember there was one thing that a company, a bank, were looking at, and the person that was hiring was talking to me. I was like, oh, are you thinking about? They were like, if you know anyone, could you let us know? And I was like, what do I mean? They're like, who's gonna manage you? Because within your industry, they already look at you as the guy on TV. So who's going to want to have the job? Who's going to have the job to tell E-Man what to do on a day-to-day basis? No. But if you know anyone, I said, no problem, we can do that. But what about social media? Because some people are losing jobs because of social media when they should really be using it to get promotion and get the place they want to be.
For me, this comes back down to what I said: be yourself with skill. I've got so many opinions. I've got so many thoughts that stay in the group chat. Okay, stay in the group chat. And if you like, let the chat be encrypted so none of you can change your mind and let the devil use you.
Come on.
So too many opinions, and it's just like and I'm going to do a post on LinkedIn about it as well, because the last 3 months I've probably grown by another 1,300 followers on LinkedIn. Just sharing my opinions, whatever. And people say to me, oh, but how do you find time to do it? How do you do it? I haven't got two heads. Like, I actually don't. I just find the time. I sit down, I write, I schedule, and I just put something out there. And so social media is at our fingertips. It's literally, if you haven't got a phone, you've got a laptop. If you haven't got a laptop, then somebody can borrow you their phone. Like, it's at your fingertips. And I've seen how showing up on LinkedIn in particular has allowed me to do so many different things. Like, so many different things. Like, we connected on the podcast. We be knowing, but so many different things. So I always encourage people, have an opinion, have a voice. But, and this is where you have to, this is the big but, tailor that to your audience. Yeah. So what you might want to say on the podcast versus when the mic is off, versus on the LinkedIn, versus in your family around your dinner table, tailor it. All of it's got to be tailored. You can't be the same person for everybody. It's ridiculous. It's the biggest fallacy of society to think that I can just be myself. We don't want you to be yourself. I actually don't care what you really think. I care what you think in the context of this professional networking site, LinkedIn. Tell me your professional opinion. I don't actually care about your personal opinion. Be real. On Instagram, fine. Put a little something in the stories. We go engage. On Twitter, under your fake alias account, now you can tell me what you really think.
Exactly.
Like, let's be ready. You got to be smart about it. And I'm seeing people who are like, and I'll see some people even like on LinkedIn, the right post, and I'm like, and I don't know you that well, but do you not have a friend that can tell you that this one is coming too loud? You're shouting. We can hear you in Kent. You're shouting so loud on LinkedIn. Calm down. But I don't know you that well.
It's crazy. I think that's like the general theme of this episode that we're talking about, because it's so true. Yeah, people that don't think that they say I'm the same everywhere, innit?
You can't be. You really can't.
And they say that in their heads, but even they're not practicing what they preach, because they're on LinkedIn or they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok and they're on Twitter, and they understand at least there that you can't post the same things on Instagram, on TikTok and Twitter. They're three different tones. So why don't we know that about work?
About work.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Why
don't we know that about work?
About your friends, about your family. Like, how are you showing up?
Yeah.
And I actually feel like, to some extent, your professional environment does not deserve your personal self. That should be reserved for your loved ones, your family, your friends. Like, the way me and my sister, we all bash it, we all kiki. No, very few people can have that level of proximity. Me and my sister. My sister's relationship with my sister is even different to my brothers. And I know they're going to be listening. And what about it? Like, the relationship I have with my family is different to the relationship with my friends. Like, you have to. That's life. That's a part of being self-aware enough as well to know yourself and to know how do you show up to still give your best, be your best, but do it with skill.
Absolutely. Bread and butter podcast. So we know a bit about what you do. What's Tolu's relationship with money outside of
balling?
So what do you spend your money on? What do you save your money for? Where do you donate to? Like, whatever that may be. Talk to us.
So money's interesting. And I think being a Nigerian, but also being a woman and also being, I guess, are we second generation because our mum's here and stuff like that? But all of those, I've had a very complex relationship with money. And I think the first thing I would say is that when you talk about saving, you said, what are you saving for? And in my mind, I was like, a rainy day. Because that's how I was always brought up. Saving for a rainy day. And then one day, and I'm a Christian, one day I just had it in my spirit that, and if it rains, I'll just give you an umbrella. Like, and now, please, I'm not saying everyone should start spending money up and down recklessly, please. But I think sometimes in our culture, and I'm talking as Black people and Nigerians in particular, we're constantly saving for a rainy day.
Very defensive.
So defensive. And then you realize it hasn't rained. And you've got money in the bank, but you haven't had experiences. You haven't had enjoyment. You're still living a life of struggle, but there's money in the bank. So for me, maybe a good, like maybe 5, 6, maybe even 8 years ago, I just now pivoted my thinking entirely, which is, I've got enough that I'm able to actually live a life of enjoyment. And I owe that to myself. I work too hard to struggle and not to enjoy. So for me, I spend my money on experiences. I spent a lot of money traveling in my 20s. And I got sick and tired of my friends not having time or money to travel, that I just started traveling solo. And so I think I've traveled to over 50 countries. Wow. And then in the last, my dad died about 5 years ago. So after that, I kind of like took a pause. I haven't really traveled as much in the last 5 years. But in my whole 20s, 7 countries a year. 8 countries a year. And literally, I would just book a holiday and I'll tell work I'm going for a month. And if you don't like it, then it's a resignation. Like, no. Also, because when I say be yourself with school, I was very, as I was saying, I was very raggo back in the day,
Yeah.
Like, I would just say, I'm going to Australia and New Zealand for a month. And if you don't give me the time off, then it's a resignation effective immediately. And I would go, like, that's crazy behavior. I do not advocate that, by the way, please. I used to do some crazy things. I also had it like that, but you don't do that. So I spend money on enjoyment and stuff like that. And you know what? I am partial to a nice thing. And you saw my little cute bag over there. I like a nice bag. I like nice things. I drive a nice car, and it's crazy. Like I drive a Mercedes, and what's that? Are you the only one? Yeah, Mercedes light work. But growing up, I never thought I could drive a Mercedes.
Yeah,
never thought I could drive a Mercedes.
About your experience as well, man. Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Never thought I could drive a Mercedes. And then I got Mercedes. I had a Clio. I was earning good money, and I had a run around Renault Clio, 2007 plate Renault Clio, and I had that car for 5 years. I called her Ella. My brother named her Ella. Me and Ella were rocking. I was at Amazon. Me and Ella were rocking. I was at Sainsbury's. Me and Ella were rocking. And then it got to August 2022. I had a life changing. You know, we have a life changing. You have a little breakup, and I'm a new woman now, innit? So I need a bad boy car in it. I'm a new woman. Got me a nice bad boy car like that. Enjoyment. And so I spend money. Like I own my own home. I wanted to get a garden, and for years I've been there for 6 years. I had the money in the bank, and it's even funny actually because when I wanted to do my garden, the guy told me it would it cost about $5,500. And back then I didn't want to spend $5,500. By the time I decided I wanted to do my garden, it cost me $7,000, and I paid the $7,000 happily. Because I was like, my mindset shifted. Like,
yeah.
$5,500 for a garden. The garden was fully functional, but I just said, more than function, I want enjoyment.
Yeah.
My 3 words is I want to live a life of ease, comfort, and fulfillment. Yeah. If they're struggling, don't invite me. If they're toiling, I'm not going to be present. Because I just think I work too hard in my day-to-day I work too hard 9 to 5, struggling, striving, toiling. I'm going to do that 5 to 9 and then Saturday and Sunday. I can't. I spent a lot of money on my niece and my nephew and now my new niece. I spent a lot of money on them. Like, my sister's sick of it. She's told me stop buying things. I can't. Because they're my joy. I love them. I like to bless people. So I also spend money on ministry. So I'm also in ministry. And I've got a missions-based ministry called Faith with a Few Ministries. And sponsoring kids, solar projects, building wells globally around the nations. Been doing that now since 2019. And I spend my money on that as well. And I'm also a big believer that, obviously as a Christian, that I'm a steward of wealth. I'm a steward of wealth. And therefore, for me, it's important that I'm also, obviously, you get involved in church and stuff, but I'm also sowing into the lives of others that I don't have means to do for themselves and stuff. So that's one of my biggest passions actually, and I will use my money to do that. You ain't gonna catch me doing a GoFundMe just to kind of build a wealth for somebody. No shade to people that do, because obviously people want to also be a contributor to the blessing. But I also feel like if God has given me money and I've got such disposable income, why can't I build a well? Why can't I provide solar for a community? Like that's actually light work in the grand scheme of things. So I spend my money and save my money in those kind of areas. I would say, yeah.
That's like, I think it's important to, you mentioned ease, fulfillment,
comfort.
So that's what people.
I'm not going to be there, by the way.
That's the soft life that people are talking about.
It's the softest kind.
But I guess the difference is that you're fully aware, A, on one hand, exactly what you want and what gives you joy, but B, you're very comfortable with the fact that it comes at a cost of the graft, innit? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Because there's a lot of people talking soft life just being the spontaneous, out of nowhere reckless enjoyment. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And there's no graft put in the front end. Yeah. What about investing? I know you own your own home. Did you invest in it all? Because investing gives you that soft life long term, innit? It means that you ain't got to lift a finger.
I am in the world of investing. I'm not going to lie, I'm not like all the way in. Oh, they're doing Ethereum, you put a bit of money in Ethereum. Put a bit of money here and there. But I'm not active in the investing. I got a little trading 212, a little free trade, little Coinbase accounts and stuff. I got hoodwinked into the meme stock world, didn't it? So I was like, man, lost a bit of money in the meme stocks. I should have done that. Should have got out. Me and my brother actually, we invested in meme stocks. But he got out early enough. I was like, no, Toby, they said that the wave, or whatever they call it, the moon is going to the moon. The thing didn't reach moon. But my brother got out in advance. So I do want to get a bit more into investing as well. I'll be the first to put my hands up and say that I've got a very elementary understanding of investing, in terms of just like what it is, what you can be looking. I actually did invest in like BP and stuff, Sainsbury's and stuff. BP we can get some good money because they're always paying. Oh, it's really bad though. Actually, we shouldn't be saying that because people hate BP because they're making billions while people are freezing. I've got a bit of money in BP, but just a little bit, and EDF, but just a little bit. But but I definitely know that I need to amp up my knowledge to really be in the right kind of parts of the investing world. Like I'm hearing a lot about ETFs. I used to actually, from way back, I used to invest in tracker funds. I do like that. That feels quite safe. and stuff. But yeah, I definitely need to amp up my investing, to be honest. I don't know enough about that world. As part of my desire for ease and comfort, it's like, I would rather someone just tell me, Tolu, invest in that. And I'd be like, you sure? Yeah. But that's literally so foolish. So I need to do my own research.
Oh, it depends who's telling you. If it's a financial advisor, yeah, I'm
That
trying
part.
to say. So
Yeah. I actually do need to, I was actually talking to, is it Schroeder's at one point to be my financial thing, but I never followed through, so I need to maybe go back to do that.
Yeah, no, just speak to me.
Yeah, Iman said,
No, pay the shoulder fees. Don't worry. I got you. But yeah, Tayo, ask your question, man. Tayo always ends. He loves to end it with his favorite question.
So,
what's your favourite question?
what is your double W and your L of your career so far? Just so the people listening can learn from everything you said and kind of see the highs and the lows, basically, and how it impacts your trajectory.
I would say my biggest W spans across my career in the sense that I've been fortunate enough to pioneer. So in my industry, I'm known to trailblaze, I'm known to pioneer, and it's just divine timing at this point, because I was able to launch the first ever autism at work program at Amazon, which means if somebody had done it before me, I would have been the first. I was able to launch the first ever Black History Month at Sainsbury's. I was able to launch like all these firsts, which have really allowed me to carve out a niche, but also it's given me that hunger to keep doing more, keep pushing the boundaries. When people say it can't be done, show them that it can be done. So my biggest W will be pioneering in so many facets and ways. So I'm really, really grateful for that. My biggest L would be, my biggest L, I would say, would be waiting for someone else to deliver a promise around a promotion. And I think I probably waited about 18 months too long, because it was, no, don't worry, next quarter. Oh, no, next quarter. Okay, you just need this. Okay, you just need that. And the goalpost kept on shifting.
Did they give it in the end?
No. And one thing about me, you ain't finna tell me twice. I'm finna leave. Door's always on the latch. Door to the highest bidder. So I left, but that was 18 months of what actually ended up becoming quite a prolonged, like almost like a little mini depression, because it was just so drawn out and constantly chasing, constantly seeking, constantly chasing. Okay, if you just do this, then it's that. And that was so long. And 18 months is not a long time in the grand scheme of things, but emotionally going through that process felt like a very long time. And by the time that I left, though actually, I had 3 or 4 teams offered me roles in their teams to stay, it left a bitterness in my mouth.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it was really sad, because I didn't want to look back at that period of my life with bitterness. I never want to look back with regret. So my biggest loss is staying in a place. And the same thing goes to anybody listening to relationships. The same thing goes to friendships. Same thing goes to any environment that you're in. You don't want to stay beyond the season. You don't want to stay in a season for too long, because it's even like orange juice or oranges. There's a point in which they're not ripe, then they're ripe, and then when they're more than ripe, they become bad. Like we've all had plantain.
Yeah.
You leave plantain out one day too long, you can't eat it anymore.
You facts.
The whole thing gone.
Facts.
And it's a bit like that. It's like if you leave your bread out in the summer, you come back one day too late, that thing's spoiled.
Fried rice.
And it's like that fried rice within 6 hours, that thing can
That
spoil,
thing spoiled on the stove. Madness.
Fried rice is
Madness.
Fried rice is too
within 6
temperamental.
hours, that thing can go,
Too
crazy
temperamental.
behavior. So yes, I say that. So you don't want to stay in a season for too long. You don't want to stay in a season beyond the expiry date as well. So I'll say that.
Cool. Perfect. Thank you for wrapping that up. But guys, that's been the Bread and Butter podcast. We've had the global, let me not get it wrong this time.
I know, that's right.
Global head of inclusion and diversity at Diageo. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Hey, and we'll catch you in the next one. Put in the comments, like, who do you want us to have on? What questions do you have? What did you like about the pod? Let us know, and we'll take your feedback and move forward the next one.
Peace, guys.